Have you ever wondered what really makes an American business tick? I mean, it's so much more than just profits and products, right? Well, today, we're going to take a guided tour to uncover the hidden architecture of business, from that first spark of an idea all the way to its massive impact on the world around us. Okay, so let me ask you a question. What on earth could the US Constitution, a viral meme, and a company completely going bust possibly have in common? They seem like they're from different planets, don't they? But trust me, they are all absolutely essential pieces of the American business puzzle. Stick with me, and I promise we'll connect all the dots. So here's our game plan for the tour. First, we'll look at the internal blueprint of a company. Then we'll get into the people who bring it all to life. After that, we'll tackle the rules of the road, brace ourselves for the roller coaster of booms and busts, and finally, we'll step back to see how this whole machine impacts society. Ready? Let's dive in. All right, first stop, we're going inside, because before a company can even think about making a sale or hiring its first employee, it has to build a rock-solid foundation. This is all about that internal architecture, the core plans that decide whether a business stands strong or just crumbles under pressure. Every single great company starts with a clear destination in mind, and that's its vision statement. We're not talking about some fuzzy, feel-good goal here. This is a company's North Star. Think about Microsoft, way back when. Their vision was a computer on every desk and in every home. That wasn't just a description of reality in the 70s. It was a super bold prediction that guided literally every decision they made for decades. But hey, a vision is pretty much useless without a heavy dose of reality. And that is exactly where a SWOT analysis comes in. It's basically a company taking a brutally honest look in the mirror, figuring out its internal strengths and weaknesses. But it doesn't stop there. It also scans the horizon for external opportunities and threats. It's this 360-degree view that really separates the companies that adapt and thrive from the ones that just get left in the dust. So a solid blueprint is one thing, but let's be real, a business is nothing without people. Our next stop on the tour is all about that human element. How do companies motivate the teams that build the stuff, and how do they persuade the customers who buy it? So, what makes people tick? It really boils down to two types of fuel. You've got intrinsic motivation. That's the fire inside. It's why you might spend a weekend learning to code just for the fun of it, for that thrill of creating something. Then there's extrinsic motivation. That's the external push. The carrot or the stick. You do it because there's a big bonus waiting for you. The really smart companies, they know how to tap into both. Now let's look at how these same ideas are used to connect with you and me, the customers. The ADA model is a total classic for a reason. First, some ad or video grabs your attention. Then a cool feature piques your interest. Before you know it, you find yourself really, really wanting it. That's desire. And finally, a limited time offer pushes you to take action. It's a carefully crafted journey from, what's this, to, here, take my money. But today, the most powerful marketing doesn't come from a flashy billboard, it comes from your friends. That is the magic of viral marketing. Just think about the ice bucket challenge. It spread like wildfire because people shared it with each other. Why? Because a recommendation from someone you actually trust is infinitely more powerful than any ad could ever be. It basically turns customers into a massive volunteer sales team. Okay, so we've seen the inside of a business and how it connects with people. Now let's step outside into the wild, because every single company has to navigate this incredibly complex, always changing web of rules and regulations that dictates pretty much its every move. And the roots of these rules, they're run deep. All the way back to the US Constitution. The Commerce Clause, it's just a handful of words, gave Congress the power to regulate business across state lines. This single sentence laid the groundwork for the entire federal regulatory system we have today. It's been shaping American business for over 200 years. And believe me, that power has been used again and again to solve new problems as they pop up. When monopolies got way too powerful in 1890, bam, the Sherman Antitrust Act was born. When labor disputes were crippling industry in 1935, the Wagner Act stepped in. And when huge corporate fraud at companies like Enron rocked public trust in 2002, Sarbanes-Oxley was created to enforce some serious accountability. You see the pattern? Each rule is a response to a crisis. The whole game is in a constant state of evolution. But how in the world do you do business when every state has its own unique set of rules? Imagine trying to play a game where the rulebook changes every single time you cross a border. It would be chaos, right? Well, that's where the Uniform Commercial Code, or UCC, comes in. It's like a universal rulebook for business deals. It creates a common legal language so a company in California can do business with one in New York with total confidence. And now we've arrived at one of the most dramatic exhibits on our tour, the dynamic and, let's be honest, often unforgiving cycle of business itself. This is where we look at why some companies innovate and thrive, while so many others just falter and fail. You know, it's really tempting to blame a bad economy when a business goes under, but the Small Business Administration points to a very different culprit: poor management. Yeah, whether it's a bad strategy, hiring the wrong people, or just failing to adapt, failure often starts right at the top. So, when a company really hits a wall, bankruptcy court basically offers two very different doors. Chapter 7, well, that's the final curtain. The assets get sold off, and the business is gone for good. But Chapter 11, that's a lifeline. It's a chance to reorganize, restructure, and fight for a comeback. It recognizes that sometimes a company is actually worth more alive than dead. And companies don't just go through these cycles all by themselves. Check out this number. Back in 2008, there were almost 28,000 business associations in the US. Just think about that. From your local chamber of commerce to massive lobbying groups in DC, this represents an enormous collective voice, all working to shape laws and the economy in their favor. Okay, for our final stop, we're zooming all the way out. Because a business isn't just an economic engine, it's an incredibly powerful force in society. So here, we're going to explore that really complex relationship and the growing debate about what a company's ultimate purpose really is. For decades, the mantra of business was pretty simple: grow, 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 no matter what. But that is changing. The new ideal is what we call sustainable growth, this idea that you can meet today's needs without totally stealing from the future. It's a fundamental shift, moving from just thinking about short-term profits to long-term responsibility for both people and the planet. But then there's the economic activity that happens completely off the books. The underground economy, we're talking everything from undeclared tips to illegal markets, is estimated to be as large as 16% of the entire US GDP. That is a massive parallel economy operating completely outside all the formal rules we've just been talking about. One of the absolute biggest debates about business and society revolves around what's called trickle-down economics. The supply-side view argues that if you give tax breaks to companies and the wealthy, it'll fuel investment, grow the whole economy, and create jobs for everyone. The criticism, of course, is that the benefits tend to pull at the top, with maybe just a little drip making its way down to everyone else. So what could be a new guiding principle for business? I think the author Paul Hawken put it just about perfectly: leave the world better than you found it. It's such a simple but really profound challenge to every single company out there. Think about your impact beyond just the bottom line. And that brings our tour to a close, right back at a really fundamental question. As technology, society, and all the rules of the game continue to shift and change, what is the ultimate purpose of a business today? Is it simply to make money, or is it something more? That is the big question for all of us to consider. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.